Thousands of people were killed here in Sarajevo during these years. Thousands were killed during the Balkan conflict. There are some lessons for us, media people, to be learned. The first lesson definitely is to stop the flood of sensation in the media. We should concentrate on the people, we should concentrate on what people think, on what people want.
The work of regeneration goes on as Sarajevo recovers from a war that left 11,000 people dead, 1,600 of them children. Are there lessons to be learned from the way the war was covered? One Bosnian TV journalist grew concerned that although many reports were non-partisan, there was also media coverage that divided on ethnic lines and encouraged the horrific bloodshed.
I do believe certainly that media can help a lot to create atmosphere of healing and reconciliation. That's the main reason I decided to engage myself with this conference.
The Holiday Inn had been the international press centre during the war. Once again, journalists came here for Sarajevo 2000, a conference to promote the media as a decisive force in building a free and just society. The conference was opened by the governor of Sarajevo.
Sarajevo will use your experience, and you will hopefully convey to the world who we are, what we are striving for, and how to help us. And we know one truth, the truth being that we have to change ourselves first.
Bosnia's Independent Union of Professional Journalists were joint sponsors of the conference. Their president is Mehmet Husic. The other sponsor was the International Communications Forum, whose chairman is journalist and publisher Bill Porter.
What is the effect of your products, for good or ill, on the lives of the people who read, listen to and watch them?
The two-day conference was attended by journalists from 21 countries, including Northern Ireland, Nigeria, India and America. Wherever you go in Sarajevo, there are many reminders of the 3-year war. There is still 40% unemployment, and the economy is very fragile. One man with vivid memories of the conflict was the editor of the local newspaper, Oslo Bojenja, when it became a target and was gutted by shell fire. But the attack didn't stop the presses rolling in the basement, and the newspaper continued to reach the streets.
Some people in Sarajevo were angry with some of those Western journalists. Some of them were just waiting for people to be shot, to be killed just in front of your camera. But on the other hand, there were quite a number of foreign journalists, Western journalists, who were real professionals, who discovered the first concentration camps, who discovered a lot of war crimes. So, if I may, I should say that I pay a lot of tribute for those journalists who were real professionals and to the best prestige of our profession.
The work of removing the scars of war goes on, while some people are still living amidst the rubble of their homes. But the city is gradually coming back to life. One Polish war correspondent went beyond just reporting the war. He volunteered to drive a supply truck to help the besieged citizens. Sarajevo 2000 brought him back to the city, which had changed his attitude to war reporting.
I myself was motivated to come to the region because I didn't trust the coverage which was presented in the Polish media. And I tried to understand why this war broke out by myself. This city was a very special city. It was a city of the Serbs, Croats, Muslims, Turks living together in peace. So all these labels didn't work in here. And it was really difficult for the public and for the journalists to understand why these Serbs on the hills are the bad Serbs, and these Serbs who lived in here in Sarajevo, they are the good Serbs. I was interested in the people's life. how they were able to survive under these circumstances, how they were able to keep their dignity. I was asking them the same question: who are you? What nationality are you? The local media and the politicians forced the people to identify themselves with their national belongings, to define themselves as Serbs, Croats, or Muslims. Thanks to the international media, finally the politicians, the Western politicians, decided to act, and the conflict was stopped. So definitely the media played a main role in stopping the killing and the siege of Sarajevo.
Bosnia's main TV station was praised for its non-partisan reporting of the war. But all sides of the conflict tried to use the media to get their messages across.
Politica, not only for the TV, but TV was, of course, the most influential media, but at that time Politica did the main job for Milosevic and Vjesnik for Tudjman in Zagreb. At the end, well, I saw it, I recognized that's wrong, I don't want to participate in this.
So, Senad decided to check out the accuracy of all the stories.
Beginning of the war, I've got a phone call from a newsroom. My colleagues asked me to check on story that Serbian militia are taking out people from public buses and taking them to the concentration camp. I went to military barrack of at that time Yugoslav National Army to ask the chief commander of the barrack, is that right? Is that true? Unfortunately, I went to the wrong place. My face didn't fit there, and I ended up in a concentration camp myself.
At such low points, he found a cemetery as one of the few places where he could escape for some reflection on the horrors he and his fellow citizens were experiencing. He was to discover there were opportunities to use the media for constructive change.
In 1998, we decided to launch the campaign against segregated primary schools. Even though that is a kind of political decision, we launched that campaign. It lasted 8 months. The whole story ended up in the national parliament, and we forced, with our campaign, I'm proud to say that, we forced them to vote against that bill. Now our primary schools, not only in the Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina, are not ethnically divided, are not segregated, not only here in Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina, but also in Republika Srpska.
Many of the media professionals attending Sarajevo 2000 shared their experiences of what it takes to maintain ethics in journalism.
After an awful bomb explosion on Pushkin Square in Moscow, when hundreds of people died, all the TV companies were showing the dramatic results of this tragedy. Which is better in today's journalism? To tell everything as it is, regardless of the hurt it often causes, or to have certain limits that journalists work within, to protect their viewers or readers?
It is so important to do the basic work of asking the right questions. The next thing you have to do is say, well, when I'm hearing that Joe is saying something about Mary, am I just going to repeat that in my story? Or am I going to look into the facts? What is Mary really like? Why is Joe saying that? And you'll be a great journalist if you can add a deeper layer of questioning rather than just simply reflecting the surface of the story.
When you ask people in different countries of the world, whether it be in the USA, in Great Britain, in France, in Poland, what they think of journalists, you'll find that only 17 or 18% of people say they respect them. It's not very much. Beneath us are the politicians, which isn't very satisfying for us. Therefore, we must do something. First of all, as journalists, we must gain respect and give the profession a greater place in society.
Journalism has an extremely important role to play because it can influence the public opinion and the attitudes of people for better or for worse. So they can really shape the thinking of people and thus also shape whatever comes in the future.
The main objective of the conference was encouraging delegates to sign up to the Sarajevo Commitment, a document outlining a new code of ethics for all journalists.
So, here we are, before the most important, and I hope I won't be exaggerating, historical moment. We have the Sarajevo Commitment, which was the objective of this assembly. I'd like to invite you to sign it, and I'd like to invite you to accept it with your heart.
One of the first to deliver his signed copy was Mehmet Husic, president of Bosnia's Independent Union of Professional Journalists. The Sarajevo Commitment pledges journalists to inform to the best of their ability with clarity, honesty and independence of mind. To challenge politicians to work for the next generation, not the next election. To temper freedom with responsibility and to realize that change in society begins with change in ourselves. So, can Sarajevo, scene of so much suffering in the 20th century, but also home to a peaceful, multicultural society for so long, now begin to point the way to a new and brighter future? The key to that could rest with the media.
Well, I feel moved to be back in Sarajevo because it's a historic city and it's suffered so much. But I have a sense of hope too, and that's where journalists and diplomats have got to learn together to create something different.
I do certainly believe that the role of the media now should be, or has to be, healing and reconciliation. Because there is a lot of good things, good examples, which can be shown on the TVs or printed in the papers.
We need to focus more on searching for the solutions to the problems, not just covering. It's not enough to cover the conflicts. It's more important to search for the solutions. We have to balance our reporting.